Three more teams clinch playoff spots as the battle for the top 8 heats up. All that and more this week on Real Talk. Welcome to Real Talk. I'm your host, Yurt Lopcum. Let's take a look at this week's matches. 2-for-1 Plums barely squeezed by this week in their matchup with the LA Golds. Coach Field Snyder entered this matchup holding his dick with a losing projection, but he held his ground and was able to come out on top. Alex Smith put up 21 points, while Jimmy Grant put up 12. In the end, the LA Golds just couldn't hang with only one QB. Coach Hank Patterson was so upset that he was going to lose, he didn't even show his face at Mo Monday this week. 2-for-1 Plums beats the LA Golds 82-79. Another team that officially clinched a playoff spot this week was the Titty Duckers. The Titty Duckers moved to second place and clinched their playoff spot after their win this week. Coach Alex Adelman was quoted as saying he is pleased with this week's performance. Coach Max Shipley was really out of his element this week. He took the Daniel Kelly approach and only had 8 players start. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in his favor. The Titty Duckers team had 8 total touchdowns this week as they beat Mutant Mayonnaise 109-65. The Vinegar Strokes sent Team Nasty Nate down to 3rd place this week. Nate still clinched a playoff spot though. Apparently Coach Daniel Kelly has perfected his winning strategy. He just starts 8 players and can beat the 2nd place team in the league. One of the roster spots Daniel didn't fill was defense. There were 6 defenses available for pickup this week. But Coach Daniel Kelly was that confident in his method. This game was the upset of the season after the LA Golds beating Draft Punk in Week 4. But Team Vinegar Strokes gets a gold star for their win over Nasty Nate. This is their 2nd win in a row with only 8 players, as they beat Nasty Nate 59-33. Monsters Inc. sinks lower and lower in the rankings after their loss this week. Coach Stephen Flores had a few players that just blew up. Jamal Charles scored 21 points, Janikowski scored 17, and the Baltimore defense scored 16. That really came back to bite Coach Tanner Jones in the end. He had 5 players score 5 points or less, one of which was his keeper, Matt Ryan. Monsters Inc. loses to Charles Manson's Marauders 98-61. Team Q has entered the top 8 with their win this week. Early game scores suggested that Coach Charlie McGugan would beat Team Q, but on Monday night, Colin Kaepernick worked his magic and threw for 3 touchdowns and 235 yards to score 23 points. This got the victory for Coach Pearson Cunningham as he claims his spot in the top 8. Team Q beats, as that JJ what you say, 77-68. For the 5th time this season, the Movington Steamers find themselves in the biggest blowout match. And for the 2nd time this season, they find themselves in the winning position in the biggest blowout matchup. After 5 players scored 0 points for Coach Marco Flores, things really just weren't looking good. But the good news is he did break double digits in his box score. Coach Graham McGugan, on the other hand, had 3 players score 0 or less points and managed to still come out with a fair amount of points. Coach Marco Flores scores the lowest amount of points in Real League history since the epic match that you guys certainly remember between the Bitch Fuckers and Joe the Show, where Bitch Fuckers beat Joe the Show 74-0 in the Real League Year 1. The Movington Steamers, according to the Yahoo recap, gave the business to Ashley Schaefer BMW 86-14. Team Draft Punk claimed their latest victim this week. Team Kim Jong-reel was the latest fantasy team to fall to the chosen team. Draft Punk's quarterbacks doubled up with 15 points each, and most shockingly, Jason Witten finally pulled his thumb out of his butt and scored a few touchdowns. Kim Jong-reel, on the other hand, had a 1-point performance from Case Keenum and 0 points from Ted Ginn Jr. Team Draft Punk wins their 8th match in a row as they defeat Kim Jong-reel 103-63. With only 4 playoff spots left and 5 teams within 1 game of each other, things are really getting exciting here in the Real League. Make sure to tune in again next week, and until then, keep it real.